Alright folks, I'm finally doing that dried meat video that I promised earlier this year when I dried some meat on my fence. Now, there's a problem. If you know me, I learn from my experiments. Well, the meat dried really well. And then I thought, you know what the heck, I can just leave it up there. A couple months later, or a few, I finally went back for it. And, well, I'll show you. So it's got this yellow color, which doesn't bother me. But it's also got these holes in it. Well, turns out a bunch of beetles of some sort were burrowing in a lot of the meat. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So, like right there's something. So it's got these tunnels made. Come here. So I've decided to save this dried meat for the dogs. Probably the beetles wouldn't hurt me, but I draw the line sometimes. So what people wanted was for me to demonstrate how I cook and eat this. So I'm not going to use this. This is for the dogs. I basically prep it for them the same way. But what I've also got is some dried meat here that I've found. I don't know what it is. I think it's sheep meat. No, I really don't know what this meat is. It's been 2 or 3 years, but it still smells good, and I've been eating it. So I'm going to demonstrate with this stuff how I cook on dried meat. And now you got to remember when laying out your portions that that's almost the size of a small steak, like a 1/2 inch as far as size. But when this was fresh, it was probably 3 or 4 times bigger than that. So you got to think about it in that way. And then, so you guesstimate. Now the other thing I do, you guys know I like simplicity, so I find a grand satisfaction in using a rock rather than a hammer, which I also use a hammer, that works too. But the problem with rocks, you got to be careful and make sure you get the hard kind. I thought basalt was plenty hard. Well, there's different types, and I've eaten a few rocks. So I found this piece. This was from actually dumping on a roadway. And for roadways, they like extra hard rock. So this has been a good one, and I'm not eating rocks anymore. I also found it doesn't take a whole lot of pounding. Sometimes these do, because I cut them really thick. If you remember, that's one of the things I did. So sometimes it takes some really hard bashes to get it into small enough pieces that then I can just hit it and break it. That's important because I found that I can just keep it in this cast iron pan as long as you don't have to really wail on it and it won't break the pan. This stuff breaks up real nicely. The other meat, because it's so much thicker, it does take more work, but it's not bad. In other words, it's probably worth the work to go ahead and leave it thick chunks rather than having to slice it really thin and then just pound a little extra. Alright, it doesn't take long to get this ground down to where it's ready. And if you haven't seen my other videos, I've found the big difference is getting it ground rather than soaking it. Like, it really doesn't take that long to soak. Also, this rock is cool because if I need a sharp edge, it's got this point. But then it's also got that side if I just need a hammer side. But use the point mostly. Alright, that's it. Pretty simple. Then, just enough to cover it, plus a little bit, because what you want is for it to soak up and then boil it out. But I'll show you that in the cooking. So this is the stove I've been using, mostly for my van life, but also things have been so dry where I've been that I don't want to use fire. This dang thing has these small burners, but it's okay for boiling things. The main reason I'm using it is because of these sides. So be sure to put a lid on it. Good enough amount of water. If you put too much water, it's not a big deal. You just take the lid off sooner and boil it out. So now I'm going to let that come to a boil, and then I'll turn the burner down as much as I can to keep a simmer going. And it doesn't take long, not like you would think. I'll probably just simmer it for 10 or 15 minutes. And when this is done, then I'm going to cook the rice. So I'm just going to let it simmer and boil the water out. But it doesn't take full heat anymore. Okay, so there's a little bit of water left in there, which is about perfect because I'm gonna make sauce, so I don't want it completely dry. The next thing to do is rice. Rice, baby. So rice is simple. You just guesstimate. Oh, whoops. Rice is simple. You just guesstimate how much you're gonna want, knowing that it doubles in size. And then you add twice as much water to rice. And then you cover it and bring it to a boil. Meanwhile, the meat just sits there soaking more and cooling off a little bit. While the rice is cooking, I'll explain my sauce just a little bit. Years ago, I got curious how sauce is made, so I posted about it and got some ideas, and since then I've kind of created my own thing. So the base of it, the main thing, you want to make sure there's enough olive oil in there. Olive oil is nice and healthy and adds a good flavor. Then a little bit of soy sauce, and then a little bit of barbecue sauce. And then I use black pepper and salt. And I eat this nearly every day, and every day I look forward to it. It's pretty dang good. Granted, I hit or miss. On this small stupid burner here, it's hard to fry it properly, but on my other burner and or on fire, you get a better burn and a better, wider fry, and it works a whole lot better. But even so, this works well. And when the rice is done cooking, I'll demonstrate it. I forgot something with the rice. I like to throw in some wild sage. And it's simple. You just put it in on top of it, and it seasons the whole thing. Try it sometime. Just make some rice, just add some sage, and then taste it. And it really adds some flavor. So rice takes roughly 20 minutes to cook. And the way you know if it's done is you dig some out, blow on it, and see if it crunches or if it's tough. If you're out of water in the pot and it's a little crunchy, just add some more. If you could measure and regulate the heat temperature, then that'd eliminate a couple steps, but I never do either. Especially cooking on fire, it's hard to regulate that you're gonna cook on consistent temps every time. So this is how I've developed doing it on campfire. The lid keeps the moisture in there. If you take the lid off, then the moisture evaporates. And it doesn't keep it in there completely, but greatly. So cooking is a lot about managing moisture. Okay, the rice is done. So that goes over there. That goes up there. Oh, whoops. All of this is to taste. Like, add as much as you like. That's the point there. I've found I like to have plenty of oil and then a little bit of soy sauce and then in between amount of barbecue sauce. So I got the flame cranked. I'm gonna get rid of some of that water in there, and once some of the water's boiled out, then I'll throw the rice in. But that gives this a chance to marinate just slightly. I guess it might have been interesting to have added those ingredients when it was sitting over there soaking and waiting for the rice to cook. That might have been interesting. Black pepper you can really add anytime. I add tons of it. And then salt I add at the very end. I don't know if there's any rules to adding salt or not. I mean, besides not too much. There we go. Now it's at a boil. If this were on a decent flame, like a real good-sized flame, then this would all happen a lot quicker. And you got to be careful then that you don't dry it out, because there's a fine line between perfectly done meat and dried out meat, and it happens like that. Whoa. Alright, I eat the sage. I don't think that's wrong. It hasn't made me sick yet that I'm aware of. Alright, good enough. I'm gonna do it. Oop, burned it a little bit. But because I'm not a sissy, it doesn't bother me a bit. The key is to have the ratio pretty good. I might have added too much rice, or else I didn't cook enough meat. But I tell you what, I eat this all the way down. The whole dang thing. I know a lot of y'all aren't into carbs, but for one, you can tell by looking at me, I could pretty much eat anything. It's not going to hurt me as far as that goes. Calories, etc. But I don't know, I still find that if I have rice or bread, it makes me feel full. And I feel pretty good eating it. Alright, so that's that. I'm not going to be able to fry it quite the way I wanted, but this is going to be pretty dang good. So, there we go. So if this were on a pack trip, I wouldn't be using all the sauces. I'd just take salt and pepper with me, which is also really good. It's cheaper and simpler, but since I'm living out of my van or when I'm out my property, this is how I cook it. So let's see how it tastes. I've let it cool off here. Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, that was good, and now I'm full, and there's not much I enjoy better than a cup of coffee on a full stomach. It's nice out here, tall grass. But I hope that answers your questions about how to use the dry meat. If I could get that down, be more diligent on it to gather meat in the wintertime, slice it and dry it. It actually is a pretty viable way of going without a refrigerator. And the more things you cut out of your life, the more free you are. That's my experience. And also the more prepared we are in case they try to lock things down for silly reasons. So, appreciate all the comments that y'all have been making when I haven't been making videos. You guys missed me. I missed doing it. Like I said in the live video, kind of good to take a break and really see that it is something I really do value and enjoy doing. So, plan to ramp it up again. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one.